How's it going, guys? Just wanted to do a video on the NECA 18-inch and quarter scale big chap figures. There have been 3 that's been released, obviously, throughout the years. The one all the way on the left is from 2008, the first one released. The one in the middle was from 2015, and the one on the right is the newest version of the quarter scale big chap that was released just last year, 2019, which is the 40th anniversary edition. So starting things off, we'll take a look at the packaging that each one came in, and then a little closer look at the figures, just so we can get some ideas on some of the pros and cons of each figure. You can see the details of each and compare it to each other. So if you're looking to pick one of these up in the future, or if you already have one version and want to get the next version, if it's something that's really worth it to you or not. So without further ado, we'll get underway. So this is the packaging from the 2008 figure that was released by NECA. See on the back. And if we could just turn it around to the side. Now this box is smaller, obviously, than the 2 other ones. Up at the top there you can see the 18-inch scale action figure. Before NECA decided to release the quarter scale versions of all their figures, they were doing 18-inch versions. This is the front. As you can see, that bottom border in the back has the ovomorphs, the eggs. And this box is a lot shorter than the others, as I was getting into. Is that because this particular figure comes in different pieces? Let's see if we can get a look at the xenomorph. Has the inner mouth that can extend out, which is really cool. And the separate pieces are actually, you can see there's thigh swivel, a more distal thigh swivel. And those pieces, the lower legs come off, so they're able to fit it in that smaller packaging. But the 2008 version, for the time it was released, is really really impressive. I think they were the first ones to do a big chap of this scale. Now the paint application on this one is a more matte black finish as compared to the 2 newer versions, which I will show you. They tend to have a little more sheen to them. I have all of these figures on these Kaiser doll stands, they're called, just because the xenomorphs in particular are top heavy, and they're on their extremities are fairly thin, so they tend to have a tough time standing independently. The posterior tuberosities that you see on all the xenomorphs, these came separately also. You have to insert those on, and they're fairly difficult if you do it dry. What I tend to do usually, which I've done with all of them, is I'll take one of the tuberosities, and the piece has the female part to it, so you just run that under some hot water a good 15-20 seconds, and it slides right on there pretty well, and it stays in place. I have all of these guys in a fairly static pose just because the joints after a while tend to get loose, and with the two newer versions they are on ratchet hip joints, and I actually had the quarter scale City Hunter Predator, and I was, nothing forceful, just articulating it at the hips, and that ratchet joint broke clean off. So needless to say, I'm not going to be doing too much posing with these ones, so I'm not going to go over articulation. However, you saw the mouth inner jaw does extend out. The dome is a lot thinner on this one as well than the newer releases. But anyway, let's take a look at the other two boxes, and then we'll put all of them side by side and then do our comparisons. So this is the 2015 version. As you can see, the box is a lot larger. Hard to kind of get it in frame, just because this alien doesn't come, or this version doesn't come with the the detached legs. It stands straight up pretty much in the box. So I don't know if you want to pause the video so you can read that. The lighting isn't really ideal in here, but so the boxes are a lot larger, but the packaging is always something that's very well done by NECA. This is the side. Same kind of thing. You got the border with the eggs. This is the front of the package, where you have the front window display and one of the hallways of the Nostromo. And you can see now they start to switch it to quarter scale. And this is this side. So when you're picking one of these up, or if you're one of those collectors that like to keep all of your figures clean and crisp in their packaging, you can actually get a shot of the alien's face from the side, because when they're put in the packages, they're like facing that way. It's like a side profile. But anyways, that is the 2015 version box. This is the packaging for the 40th anniversary edition of this figure that was released last year. Now the box is made to resemble the original Kenner alien that was a larger scale figure for the time, that was released right after the movie back in 1979, 1980, something like that. And NECA did a pretty phenomenal job capturing that nostalgia with the packaging, for sure. It's got old pictures from the film. Really cool. The box is roughly the same size as the 2015 version. This is the side packaging, where you get those retro kind of images and gimmicks that are listed, the different features. And this being the front of the package, it's really cool. Ages 17 and up, so if you're 16 and a half years old, 16 and 3/4, don't pick up this figure. Just a reminder. I'm totally joking, but that's the front. So packaging pretty cool. I do tend to like the green and black type of packaging. It's a little more eerie, but I really appreciate this one because I know where they were going with it. So really cool. So now we'll put all three of the figures together side by side and do a little comparison. Okay, so here are all three of the Big Chap xenomorphs side by side. Again, the 2008 version being on the left and the most recent version, 2019, being on the right. You can see right off the bat the height difference between the middle and right versus this one, again being released in that 18-inch type versus quarter scale. Now I wanted to do this type of video because there's some things that I noticed on the newest version that I didn't like as much as the 2015 version. Although I think it's a better figure representation of the Big Chap overall compared to both of the other ones. However, there are some things with it that I wasn't too thrilled about, and I'll get into those in just a second. But if we look at even just the shape of the dome, the width of it, it's thinner on the 2008 version versus the 2015 and 2019 version. Essentially, these two, the 2015 and 2019, are the same sculpt. They just did a different paint application. So really not huge differences, but you can see the differences clearly, but in terms of scope, there's nothing really much different. Obviously, the 2008 version, the articulation is good. It was good for its time, but now it's a little outdated. It does have the bendy wire tail. But like I said, I'm not going to go over the articulation just because I want to keep these joints as stiff for as long as I can. Looking at the dome itself, it's transparent. It's got that milky or smoky aspect to it where you can see the eye sockets and the spine and some of the details in there. However, you can see kind of the paint scratched off on the inside over here, which is kind of a bummer. It's a little dusty. Had this guy on display for a while. But you can see how the paint is more flat as opposed to these guys that have, you know, like a real wet look to them. We'll take a look from the back. I do like how they kept kind of like this area at the hip, like a softer rubber. So if you are the type of collector to eventually put them in a dynamic pose, you have that capable range of motion because of that. The paint I also wanted to mention around the mouth for this one is a little sloppy. The teeth, they should be chrome, or silver, which they are, but there's some missing, you know, it's like scratchy. And then if you look underneath, there's a huge gap between the dome and where it should be meeting the actual face. But these are all small details and just kind of like my personal things that I have with them. But like I was saying, for the time, this was the shit. The 2015 version, it has the smokiest or the least transparent dome out of all three versions. And I actually think that this is more accurate to the movie as opposed to having the more transparent domes, because while it is transparent still, in the movie, when you're seeing the xenomorph in different shots, you can barely make out what's under it. It did have that like milky white dome. Now the 2015 version is interesting because NECA decided to do these like type of tendons and lips around it. It looks kind of goofy. I wasn't a fan of it, or I'm not a fan of it. I know some people have actually taken the time to paint over it, and I'm glad that with the 2019 version they actually colored those tendons and stuff. It looks too artificial to me, but that, again, that's my personal opinion. Articulation, much improved on these two. They're both the same articulation because, like I said, they are the same kind of sculpt. The paint application for the 2015 version, there's a lot more browns incorporated into the paint job, which is nice. And if you look at the fingers, they do have the silver fingernails, and there was a lot of browns added to it to make them look grimy, which I thought was an excellent improvement from the 2008 version. Same thing with like the toenails. So a lighter shaded figure overall. Something I also wanted to mention, if we start at the dome with the 2019 version, 40th anniversary, I would have loved if they transitioned this same kind of dome style to the 2019 version. Well, I think this is the better figure, or the best one overall. There's some things that I would have liked to have seen transferred from the 2015 version to the 2019 version. For one, that type of dome, because on this one it's, I don't know. I just think it's too transparent. I don't think it's the most film accurate. Yes, I'm one of those guys that, get like that, but when you're spending over $100 for a figure, you just, you'd like it to be as accurate as possible. Got the chrome teeth. There was a couple things on this one. The black, it goes higher up on this side, which doesn't give it an even or smooth transition, which is a little frustrating. This particular one, there's less browns. This one is more black, which I think is more movie accurate than this one. The coloring, definitely more blacks and grays. Something that kind of drove me crazy are the fingernails on this one. They're painted sloppily. Like, they're not painted all the way through. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you can see how there's like black on it, and it just looks sloppy compared to the 2015 version. And I like how they did like the grit on it. So that's a detail that I like about the 2015 version over the 2019 version. I don't know if you can see it on this one too. Another big thing, okay, I know it's probably not a big thing, but another thing that is getting my OCD all out of whack is the toenails. The toenails on the 2019 version are not painted in silver, they're black, as opposed to both the 2015 and 2008 version. So now I know that this is supposed to be based off like the Kenner release, but I think NECA was trying to be as movie accurate as they could. I'm not sure if that's 100% movie accurate, but it's just something that's kind of driving me nuts. Like, why would you have the chrome or the silver paints on all the other versions of the Big Chap Xenomorph and not on this one. If you're supposed to be making a new and improved version, you think you would not miss that detail. It sounds like I'm really knocking this figure. I'm not. You know, it's a great figure. NECA, don't get me wrong, does a beautiful job on these Xenomorphs. I think the best bang for your buck easily. However, come on. Something that I really do like on this one, you can see there's like striping details. It's on the leg too, on the legs. That was not done on the 2015 version, so that's definitely a plus for this one. Like I said, overall the 2019 version is my favorite. I think it's the best one, but they're all great figures, and if you're a collector of NECA and an Alien fan, obviously you gotta be picking these up. So that's my review. I know there's a lot of people out there that like to see the side-by-side comparisons just to kind of get an idea of where they want to go if they're going to be spending their money on something like this. So I know I'm one of those people that looks up the videos just to check them out. But that's my kind of half-assed comparison review video. Hope this helped for any of you out there looking for this, and see you around.